Hi everyone, welcome back to Nick's Diecast. In today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale Nissan 350Z Nismo Custom made by Maisto, or Maisto, depending on how you like to pronounce their name. I got this model from Sam's Club for just $17, which I thought was a great price. And that is typically the price that you can find Maisto 1/18 scale model cars for at various wholesale clubs such as Sam's Club, Costco, and the BJ's wholesale clubs, at least here in the United States, throughout the summer and into the end of the calendar year. This is actually a Sam's Club exclusive model for 2024, and it is a re-release as well. Maisto previously retired this particular casting, and they decided to bring it back to sell exclusively at Sam's Club, at least for 2024. And Maisto at one point made both this version of the 350Z along with the regular version of the 350Z, which you see right here. And I did do an unboxing and a review of this version of the model back in 2020. And then when I found out that Maisto was re-releasing the Nismo version of the car in this awesome yellow, I decided to get the yellow Nismo to go with the orange regular version that I have of the car. So in the video, I'll of course be focusing primarily on the Nismo version of this model in terms of its details and everything like that and the overall review. But I will be comparing the details and design aspects, I guess we'll say, of the Nismo Nissan 350Z to the regular Nissan 350Z. And you can find both the regular Z and the Nismo Z models from Maisto on eBay for various prices depending on which color you're getting and the condition of the model and whether or not you're getting it in the original box as well. But for right now, if you do happen to belong to Sam's Club, you can find this yellow version here with the carbon fiber hood and roof for that awesome $17 price tag. Now, the Nissan 350Z in real life was produced between 2002 and 2009 for the 2003 through 2009 model years. And in 2009, you could only get the roadster version of the car. This model right here is based off the Nissan 350Z Nismo S-Tune, which was a body kit that you could actually get to put on your Nissan 350Z. And it was actually based off a similar body kit that was offered in a video game, specifically the Gran Turismo video game from the early 2000s, which was when the real car came out as well. And one interesting thing to note in terms of the differences between the original version of this model that Maisto released and the re-release is, well, first of all, you could get the original release in two different colors. It came in silver with a two-tone black and saddle-colored interior, and you could also get it in the same metallic orange that you see here with this regular version of the model, with the same black interior that you see as well. And those two versions, along with this re-release, all came with these same gold 5-spoke wheels that you see here. Now, aside from obviously the color differences between the original version and the re-release of the Maisto Nissan 350Z Nismo S-Tune, one big difference is that the re-release comes with this awesome carbon fiber textured roof and hood. Whereas for the original releases in the silver and the orange versions, their hoods and roofs were body colored. They matched the rest of the paint job of those particular models. And something else I noticed is that for the re-release, Maisto did not put the Nismo inscription on the wheels or on the rear hatch. On the version of this model that Maisto released originally in 2004, you could see the Nismo inscription imprinted on one spoke of each of the four wheels, along with the rear hatch or the rear trunk lid as well. But on the re-release, Maisto decided to not put those on there.
Not really too sure why they chose to not put those badges on the model. And also on the original release, you did have some graphics going along the sides and the hood of the car as well. They were like Nismo graphics with like some stripes and whatnot. But for the re-release, you just have a yellow paint with the carbon fiber hood and roof.
I'm not really sure why they chose to not put the Nismo branding on the car, but still call it, the Nissan 350Z Nismo. But that's just another thing that I thought was interesting enough to point out between the original version of this model and the re-release as well. And that's not even including or talking about the differences in details between Maisto's model of the regular 350Z
and then Maisto's model of the Nismo version.
So I'll kind of go more in depth in the video as to what the differences are between this regular version and the Nismo version. There really aren't a whole lot of differences, but I think there are enough to point out. So once again, Maisto originally released this particular model around 2004 or so, and they originally released the regular version of the 350Z model around 2003 or so. They discontinued the regular version in 2014 from their catalog, and then the Nismo version, I think they discontinued a few years prior to that. But now, at least for right now, you can find the Nismo version new at Sam's Club. And Maisto did change the name of this model as well between the original version and the re-release. The full name for the original version of the model was Nissan 350Z Nismo S-Tune. And the name of the re-release, they call it the Nissan 350Z Nismo Custom. So the S-Tune name, apparently they dropped and they changed it to just Nissan 350Z Nismo Custom.
I'm not too sure why they changed the name of the model with the re-release,
along with getting rid of the Nismo branding from the wheels and the rear hatch. But again, those are just some odd things, I guess, to point out.
But similar to the non-Nismo or regular version of the casting
that you see here, I think the overall details of this model are quite well done, but there are some bits and pieces I think that can be improved upon for sure, which I will talk about throughout the video here. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the details of this model. We'll begin up here at the front. Similar to the regular version of the car that Maisto released back in 2003, I think Maisto really did a good job of capturing the overall look and shape of the 350Z. This definitely was a very iconic car of the 2000s and still continues to be very well loved to this day. And I think especially with the added visual effects of the Nismo package, this car really does look cool, especially when you have it up on the shelf with similar cars from the 2000s. And with other, sports cars and supercars in general. In the front here, you will see that Maisto did a good job of capturing the overall look and shape of the headlights. They do look pretty spot on to what you would see on the real car. And yeah, there is a peg kind of in the top corner of each light, but that really is not a big deal because from a distance, you really can't see the pegs all that well. There is a slight gap on the top portion of this headlight and on the bottom portion of this headlight, but considering that I got the model for $17, I don't really think that's a big deal. I'm not really sure about the original release of this model, if that had similar, defects with the panel gaps, but I can tell you that for the original release of the regular 350Z, that the panel gaps seem pretty decent. There's kind of a wide one up here, but I think it's a little bit wider on this version of the model, but not really a big deal because both of these are the budget grade models. And taking a look at the center, you do have this nicely embossed Nissan badge. And down here, you do have this fully see-through grille. On the Nismo version, this is a wide open grille with a single slat. And on the regular version of the car, it's a slatted grille. And then also on the Nismo version of the car, you have this kind of added visual effect in the front where you have this different shaped bumper. And then you have the regular front bumper right here on the regular version of the car. So those are kind of the main differences in terms of the front portions of the cars. And you do have these turn signals down here as well, although Maisto did not put the reflective turn signal stickers that you see on this version of the car. You can see kind of those reflective amber colored stickers that would kind of simulate the real life turn signal lights. On here, they mold in the sections where the lights would be, but you don't see any stickers in there. So I thought that was kind of an odd touch. Maybe they should be there, and mine's just a factory defect. I'm not really too sure on that. But that would have been nice for Maisto to have put those same stickers on the turn signals of this Nismo version here. Taking a look at the side of the model, I think Maisto did a great job with the wheels as well. These were the wheels that you would have seen on the real-life Nismo S-Tune, which were kind of these, I want to say, copper-colored 5-spoke wheels. Of course, on the real car and on the original release of the model, you would see the Nismo inscription on one of the wheel spokes on each of the 4 wheels. But on the re-release, Maisto decided to do away with that for whatever reason. I'm not really too sure why. And you have the same brake discs and calipers on the regular version of the model. Of course, the wheels are different, but the brake discs and calipers are the same. They have the Brembo brakes on them. And then you also have the small Z symbol on the fender as well, which is what you would also see on the real car. And Maisto includes on the regular version of the model too. Nice sturdy side mirrors as well, and the paint matches quite well, I think, with the rest of the body. Maisto also did a good job with the silver door handles too. These are what you would see on the real car, and they open up from the side, which is kind of a cool touch. And they are identical on the regular version of the car. You do, of course, get full steering and suspension on the model as well. And the paint quality, I would say, is quite well done on this particular model. There are some regions of the car, though, that are a little bit undersprayed. You see right here on this portion, there's not enough paint there. And on the grille, there's the underspray right there as well.
Which doesn't really look that great, as you can see. But the paint on the regular version seems to be just fine and actually better in terms of overall quality.
The paint on the mirrors does not match up too well, however, with the paint on the metal portions of the car. But on this version, it does match up well.
And the underspray is also present a little bit on the sides of the model too, on those sections of the body that kind of stick out a little bit with the Nismo kit. So not really great to see that, but from a distance you really can't see the underspray all that much. And they did at least make the carbon fiber sections look really good on the model.
Taking a look at the back of the model, I think Maisto did a good job with the details back here. They did do a solid job, I think, with the look and shape of the taillights. They are the accurate shape to what you would see on the real car. And yeah, there are pegs in the taillights. They're really kind of hard to see. They're almost fogged over. And from a distance, you really cannot see them all that well. And the taillights are identical on the regular version and on the Nismo version. Although I think the fit and finish is a slight bit better on the regular version than it is on the Nismo version. But from a distance, they look the same. Same goes for these indicator lights on both models. They are just painted on, and the exhaust pipes appear to be the same. And then on here, of course, you do have the different shaped rear bumper. It has that body kit look to it, whereas you have kind of the more smooth look to the regular version of the car. You also get the rear wing on the Nismo version, and the wing is made in a separately cast plastic piece, and it is nice and sturdy, which I think is good. And the paint does match up well, I think, with the metal portions of the car. In terms of the opening features of the model, you do have the opening rear trunk, which opens up like so. Not really a whole lot to see back here in the trunk. You do have this rear brace, which does have this silver component with the Z badge on it, and you would see this on the real car. And the texture back here looks and feels great. It looks like the same texture you would see on the real car. And Maisto, I think, did a really good job of capturing that back here, for sure. The rest of the trunk kind of has a smooth texture to it, but it is the right look and shape to what you would see on the real car's trunk. And this trunk is identical to the trunk on the regular version of the car, as you'll see right here. You also get the opening hood. And here you will see the 3.5 liter V6 that the 350Z came with. I don't think there was any differences between the engine of the Nismo S-Tune and the engine of the regular version of the car. And that's certainly true for these Maisto models here. The engines are exactly the same, as you'll see right here and right here. The engines themselves are done in just kind of a single plastic mold. There is some detail, but not a whole lot. You do have the Nissan inscription in the center portion of the main block, and then you have this molded in silver brace going across the center of the engine. And you, of course, have the V6 3.5 badging in the center portion here, too. There are some various like fluid caps and everything that are kind of a more three-dimensional look, but I think some more detail would have been welcome. And same, of course, goes for the regular version, too. And I did kind of talk about that when I reviewed this particular model here. But I think for a budget grade model, the engines aren't too bad, which I do like to say. But although these are done as single plastic pieces, they do look good, I think, from a distance, especially from like this angle right here. But once you get up close to the engines of the models, you will see that they are, in fact, single plastic pieces. But for being single plastic pieces, I think the engines do look decently done. You also have the opening doors on the model as well. The doors open up on spring-loaded hinges, and they are quite strong. But as a result, the doors don't open up that wide. I wish they opened up a little bit wider. It would make it kind of better to see the different details of
The interior.
the interior detail of both models is virtually identical. I'll kind of quickly show you here, but the seats, door panels, center stacks, everything are pretty much identical in terms of the details. And that really is not a bad thing because the details are quite well done. And you can see even from this angle right here, all the different textures, the painted on buttons and everything. Maisto was doing a really, I think, incredible job with the interiors of their models during this time. All the different textures you see in there, especially with like the dashboard, you kind of have that leather pattern going on there. And of course, all the different buttons on the center stack just looks really well done. And with the steering wheel as well, you have the nice Z badge in the center of that. And then the seats just look like the real seats, and they even feel like the real seats too, with the texture that Maisto made the seats with. Just very, very cool. And I'm glad that Maisto kind of kept the same details with this re-release. All the different fine details and all the nice, textures that you see in here are very cool to see. Although you can't really see any detail differences on these two Maisto models, I believe on the two real-life cars, the regular version and the Nismo version, I think did have some slight detail differences. I think on the Nismo's gauge cluster or somewhere on the dashboard, there was some sort of a Nismo inscription, I want to say. But of course, for the two Maisto models, to save on cost, they just put in the two identical interiors. But I think that is fairly realistic to what you would see if you compare the two real cars side by side. But the interior details of both versions of the model, I think, do hold up quite well to the interiors that you see on more recently released Maisto models for sure. And that is great to see. Now, the undercarriage detail on both models is pretty much identical. You can see that Maisto does have the chrome exhaust system along with some other details molded into the black plastic base. And same goes for the base of the regular 350Z. Not a whole lot to see in terms of details, but I think what they have for their bases looks pretty well done. So when it comes to both of these models, there really is no clear winner, I guess we'll say, in terms of which one is better in terms of quality. Because they are both essentially the same in terms of quality. I think the paintwork on the older regular version of the 350Z is a little bit better than the paintwork on the newer Nismo version. And also with the shut line of the hood and with the headlights and all that. I think the older one has that a little bit better than the newer one. But all in all, I think both of these different models are very well done, especially considering that they were both originally released around 2003 or 2004 or so. I think in spite of those couple flaws that the Nismo version has, these do hold up well to more recent releases from Maisto for sure. So if you can find the Nismo or even the regular version for, I think, as long as you're paying under $45 for whichever model you're looking at, you're getting a good deal, I think. And either one of these models, I think, would look good in a collection of 1/18 scale model cars. Whether you collect models of Nissans, of just Z cars, or just modern cars in general. So feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on the video here. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.